What would you do if you discovered that the two most important people in your life had betrayed you? How far would you go for love? This is the story of Amélie Dubois, a woman who had it all: beauty, success, and a seemingly perfect marriage. But beneath the surface of her glamorous life in Paris lurked a dark secret that was about to come to light. A deadly love triangle, an international investigation, and an unexpected twist that no one saw coming. Get ready to immerse yourself in a story where nothing is what it seems and where love, betrayal, and revenge intertwine in a deadly dance. On a cold October morning, the sun was just beginning to peek over the rooftops of Paris when the heartbreaking scream of a maid shattered the tranquility of the luxurious Le Marais neighborhood. The lifeless body of Pierre Dubois, the renowned chef of the L'Etoile restaurant, lay in a pool of blood on the marble floor of his penthouse overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Detective Sophia Marquez, recently arrived from Madrid for a police exchange, did not expect her first case in the City of Light to be so shocking. As he rode the elevator to the 28th floor, he mentally reviewed the details he had been given. 42-year-old man, owner of a 3-Michelin-star restaurant, married, no children. Apparently a robbery gone wrong. But the moment Sophia set foot in the apartment, she knew this was something more. The crime scene was a chaos of passion and violence. Spilled wine glasses, broken dishes, and a bloody kitchen knife next to the body. Pierre's eyes, still open, seemed to look with surprise towards the door, as if death had surprised him in the middle of a revelation. As she surveyed the scene, Sophia's eyes fell on a framed photograph above the fireplace. It showed Pierre with a beautiful woman with brown hair and piercing green eyes. Amélie Dubois, the victim's wife and owner of the most exclusive art gallery in Paris. The image showed a happy couple in love, but there was something in Amélie's eyes that intrigued Sophia. A shadow, a flash of something deeper and darker. Detective Marquez, one of the forensic technicians, called her. "We found something interesting." The man pointed towards a kitchen, where a drawer was slightly open. Inside, neatly arranged, were a dozen knives identical to the murder weapon. "They are all clean, except for the one we found next to the body," explained the technician. Sophia frowned. Why would someone use a knife from the victim's own home for a robbery? And more importantly, why would he leave it at the crime scene? Something didn't add up. The first 24 hours of a homicide investigation are crucial, and Sophia knew it. As the forensic team continued to process the scene, she began interviewing neighbors and building staff. Everyone described the Dubois as the perfect couple. He, a charismatic and talented chef. She, an elegant and sophisticated woman who had taken her art gallery to the top of the Parisian art world. However, the night porter provided an intriguing detail. The night before, around 11, I had seen a blonde woman enter the building. It wasn't Mrs. Dubois, he stated confidently, but she seemed to know the access code. Sophia felt like she was facing the tip of an iceberg much bigger than she imagined. He decided it was time to meet the widow. Amélie Dubois sat in the police station interrogation room, the very image of elegance even in pain. Her face, perfectly made up, showed no signs of tears, and her hands, impeccably manicured, rested serenely on the table. "Mrs. Dubois," Sophia began, "I'm so sorry for your loss. Can you tell me where you were last night?" Amélie looked at her with eyes that seemed like deep wells of sadness. "I was in Milan," he replied, his voice soft but firm. "He had a major exhibition at the Brera Gallery. You can verify this with the hotel and the event organizers." Sophia nodded, taking notes. "When was the last time you saw your husband?" 3 days ago," Amélie replied. "Pierre was busy with the restaurant, and I was busy with preparations for the exhibition. We spoke on the phone yesterday afternoon. He seemed normal, happy even. He said he had a surprise for me when he got back." As Amélie spoke, Sophia noticed something in her body language. A slight tremble in his voice at the mention of surprise, a flash of something in his eyes. Pain? Or something else? "Mrs. Dubois, do you know anyone who might want to harm your husband?" Amélie shook her head. Everyone loved Pierre. He was the life of any gathering. He had this gift for making everyone feel special. Sophia decided to change focus. Let's talk about your best friend, Claire Rousseau. I understand she's also your partner in the gallery. For the first time, Sophia saw a crack in Amelie's composure. It was only an instant, but his eyes widened slightly and his fingers tensed on the table. Claire? Yes, we've been friends since college. She must be devastated by the news. Have you talked to her? Sophia kept her face neutral. We haven't been able to locate her yet. Do you know where she could be? Amelie frowned. How strange. I should be in Paris. We had a meeting scheduled for this afternoon at the gallery. The detective decided to press a little more. Mrs. Du Bois, did you ever suspect that your husband might be having an affair? The change in Amelie was subtle but undeniable. His breathing quickened slightly and his eyes hardened. Detective Marquez, my husband has just been murdered. Is it really necessary to tarnish his memory with baseless insinuations? Sophia leaned back in her chair, carefully observing the woman in front of her. I'm just exploring all the possibilities, Mrs. Du Bois. Love and jealousy are powerful motives. Amelie stood up, her composure restored. If there are no more questions, I would like to leave. I have a funeral to plan. As she watched Amelie leave the room, Sophia couldn't help but feel like she was seeing only the tip of the iceberg. There was something more to this story, something that Amelie Du Bois was carefully hiding behind her perfect widow facade. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Sophia and her team worked tirelessly, following every lead, no matter how small. Amelie's alibi was confirmed. She had been in Milan the night of the murder, seen by dozens of witnesses at the art exhibition. However, Claire Rousseau was still missing. His apartment was intact, with no signs of a struggle or that he had planned a trip. His passport was still in his desk drawer, and his phone went straight to voicemail. The investigation took an unexpected turn when the forensic team found traces of DNA under Pierre's fingernails that did not match either him or Amelie. Sophia ordered a comparison with Claire's DNA, obtained from a hairbrush in her apartment. While waiting for the results, Sophia decided to delve into the Du Bois past. She discovered that Pierre and Amelie had married young, just a few months after she graduated from college. Their rise in the culinary and artistic world of Paris had been meteoric, becoming the fashionable couple in less than a decade. But there was something more, a story that lay hidden beneath the surface of his success. Sophia found old photographs from Amelie's college days. In almost all of them, he appeared with Claire, their faces close, their gazes intertwined in a way that suggested something more than friendship. The case took a dramatic turn when the DNA results came back. They matched Claire Rousseau. Suddenly, her missing best friend became the prime suspect. Sophia returned to the Du Bois apartment, this time with a more thorough search warrant. In Pierre's study, hidden behind a painting, they found a safe. Inside, a diary and a collection of passionate love letters between Pierre and Claire. The diary entries revealed a story of deceit and passion. Pierre had been having an affair with Claire for months. Clandestine meetings in luxury hotels and passionate messages exchanged under pseudonyms. But the most surprising thing was discovering that Amelie knew everything. The last entry, dated the day of the murder, read, "A knows. He said he has a surprise for us." My God, what have I done? The case seemed to be solved. Claire, in a fit of passion or guilt, had killed Pierre and then fled. But Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. Why would Pierre expect a surprise from Amelie if she had discovered the affair? And more importantly, where was Claire? The detective decided to re-examine Amelie's movements in the days before the murder. He discovered suspicious purchases: a kitchen knife identical to the murder weapon, latex gloves, and a blonde wig. The pieces were beginning to fit together, but the final reason was missing. That's when Sophia had a hunch. He returned to Amelie and Claire's art gallery, this time with a team of forensics. In the basement, hidden behind a false wall, they found a small studio. The walls were covered with photographs. Pierre and Claire together, Amelie watching them from afar, floor plans of the apartment, schedules, detailed notes. And there, in a corner, a diary. The pages revealed the true nature of the relationship between Amelie and Claire. They were not just best friends and partners, but lovers since college. Pierre had been the intruder in this relationship, a marriage of convenience to keep up appearances in conservative Parisian high society. The plan was revealed in detail. Amelie, doubly betrayed by her husband and her true love, had planned the perfect murder. She would use the blonde wig to enter the building, kill Pierre with the knife she had bought, identical to the ones in her kitchen, and then Claire would disappear, appearing to be the fleeing murderer. Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. The case that had begun as a simple murder of passion had become an intricate web of deceit, forbidden love, and calculated revenge. With this new information, Sophia ordered the immediate arrest of Amélie Dubois. But when the police arrived at his apartment, they found it empty. On the dining room table, an enigmatic note. The truth always comes to light, but sometimes the light is too blinding. The search for Amélie and Claire became an international manhunt. Sophia followed their trail through the streets of Rome, where witnesses had seen them dining in a small restaurant in Trastevere, through the canals of Amsterdam, where they had bought tickets for a cruise on the Rhine, and finally, by the skyscrapers of New York, where they seemed to have vanished in the thin air. Months later, when the case seemed to cool down, Sophia received an anonymous package at her office in Madrid, where she had returned after concluding her exchange in Paris. Inside, he found a USB with a video of Amélie confessing to the crime, but with a final twist that no one expected. In the video, Amélie, sitting on what appeared to be a tropical beach, looked directly into the camera. His hair, once brown, was now a golden blonde, and his skin had the healthy glow of someone who has left behind a great burden. "Detective Marquez," he began, "if you're seeing this, it means you've solved the puzzle. Congratulations. I assume you now want to know the full truth." Amélie proceeded to tell a story that left Sophia breathless. It turned out that Claire was also alive, and together they had planned everything. Pierre's murder, Claire's disappearance. It was all part of an elaborate plan to escape together and start a new life. "You see, Detective," Amélie continued, "Pierre was not the man everyone thought he was. Behind his charm and easy smile, hid a controlling and abusive man. Our marriage was a golden prison, and Claire was my only comfort. When Pierre discovered our relationship, he threatened to destroy everything. My gallery, Claire's reputation, our lives." The camera zoomed out, revealing Claire sitting next to Amélie, their hands clasped. "We don't expect you to understand or approve of our actions," Claire said, speaking for the first time. "But after years of living in fear, of hiding who we really were, we are finally free." Amélie spoke again, her voice laced with an emotion that Sophia had never detected during the interrogations. "I know what we did is unforgivable in the eyes of the law. We took a life, and that's something we will have to live with forever. But we also saved 2 lives in the process. Our own." The detective watched the screen, amazed by the final turn of events. The case that began as a simple, passionate murder had become a story of forbidden love, abuse, betrayal, and finally, redemption. "Sometimes, Detective Marquez," Amélie continued, her green eyes shining with a mix of sadness and determination, "love leads us to commit unthinkable acts, but it also gives us the strength to reinvent ourselves. This is our love story, written with blood and redeemed by freedom." Claire added with a sad smile, "We understand that we will probably never be able to return to our old lives, but we have found peace in this new beginning. We hope that, in some way, you can understand why we did what we did." The video ended with both women looking toward the horizon, the setting sun bathing them in a golden light that seemed to symbolize their new life. Sophia stared at the blank screen long after the video ended, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions and thoughts. As a detective, he knew it was his duty to report the video and continue the search for Amélie and Claire. They were fugitives, confessed murderers. But as a human being, He couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy. How many times had he seen cases where victims of abuse ended up behind bars for defending themselves? How many times had justice failed those who needed it most? With a deep sigh, Sophia made a decision. He removed the USB and put it in the inside pocket of his jacket. Then, he opened the case file on his computer and began typing his final report. After months of exhaustive investigation, no conclusive evidence has been found regarding the whereabouts of Amélie Dubois and Claire Rousseau. Given the lack of new leads and the allocation of resources to more recent cases, I recommend that this case be classified as unsolved and be archived until new information emerges. As she wrote the last words, Sophia couldn't help but wonder if, somewhere in the world, Amélie and Claire had finally found the happiness they longed for. Part of her hoped so. The case of the woman who murdered her husband went down in history as one of the most intriguing and romantic crimes of the 21st century, a reminder that sometimes the line between love and hate, between justice and revenge, is as thin as the edge of a kitchen knife. Years later, on distant beaches in distant cities, two women, one blonde and one brunette, are rumored to have been seen, always together, always smiling, as if sharing a secret the rest of the world would never understand. And perhaps, deep down, that is the true happy ending that no one dared to imagine. Meanwhile, in her office in Madrid, Detective Sofia Marquez sometimes takes an old USB out of her personal safe and looks at it for a long time, wondering if she made the right decision. But then he remembers Amélie's words. Sometimes, love leads us to commit unthinkable acts, but it also gives us the strength to reinvent ourselves. Sophia's decision not to reveal the existence of the confession video had far-reaching consequences, not only on her career but on her personal life. As the years passed, Amélie and Claire's case became a legend in law enforcement circles, an unsolved mystery that fascinated rookies and veterans alike. Sophia, now promoted to head of the homicide unit, often found herself reviewing the case on lonely nights, when the weight of her secret grew heavier. There were moments when he was on the verge of confessing everything, handing over the USB and facing the consequences. But every time she was about to do it, she remembered the look in Amélie and Claire's eyes in that video, that mix of love, regret, and hope that had moved her so deeply. The case had also had a significant impact on Parisian society. The world of art and gastronomy, previously so dazzled by the perfect couple that was Pierre and Amélie, was now questioning everything it thought it knew about them. Rumors, conspiracy theories, and even a couple of sensational books emerged that tried to explain the disappearance of Amélie and Claire. At the L'Etoile restaurant, now run by Pierre's sous chef, it had become something of a macabre tourist attraction. Diners asked to sit at Amélie's table or try Pierre's latest menu, seeking some connection to the mystery that had captivated the public. Amélie and Claire's art gallery, on the other hand, had closed its doors shortly after their disappearance. However, the works they had exhibited and sold skyrocketed in value, becoming coveted collectors' items. Critics and collectors analyzed each painting, each sculpture, looking for hidden clues or secret messages that could shed light on the whereabouts of the two women. Meanwhile, in different parts of the world, enigmatic clues appeared from time to time that kept the mystery alive. A painting signed with the initials ANC in a small gallery in Buenos Aires. A dish at a Tokyo restaurant that tasted suspiciously similar to Pierre's famous creation. A couple matching the description of Amélie and Claire, seen boarding a train at the station in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Every time one of these clues reached Sophia's ears, she felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. Relief at the thought that Amélie and Claire had managed to find the piece they were looking for, and anxiety at the possibility that someone else might connect the dots and discover the truth. The impact of the case extended beyond the lives directly involved. In the years that followed, there was a rise in public awareness about domestic abuse in seemingly perfect relationships. Organizations supporting victims of domestic violence began using Amélie and Claire's story, or at least the version that the public knew, as an example of how abuse can occur even in the most privileged circles of society. The case also sparked ethical debates in the legal and law enforcement community. To what extent could an act of violence be justified in response to abuse? How to balance the letter of the law with human compassion? Sophia found herself participating in various panels and conferences on police ethics, always walking the fine line between sharing her reflections and keeping her secret. As the years passed, Sophia noticed subtle changes in his approach to other cases. She became more empathetic, more willing to listen to the stories behind the crimes. His case resolution rate increased, not only because of his growing experience, but because of his ability to see beyond appearances and understand the complexities of the human heart. A decade after Amelie and Claire disappeared, Sophia received an anonymous package in her office. Heart racing, she opened it to find a copy of a newly published cookbook. There was no author's name, only a pseudonym, The Fugitive Lovers. Flipping through it, Sophia immediately recognized some of Pierre's favorite recipes, but with subtle variations that spoke of a new life, of experiences in distant lands. On the dedication page, handwritten, was a message to H.M., who understood that sometimes true justice is not found in a court of law. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to write our own happy ending. Sophia closed the book, tears in her eyes. At that moment, he knew he had made the right decision. Despite the weight of the secret he had carried all these years, he felt a deep peace. He had allowed love, even one born of tragic circumstances, a chance. The case of Amélie Dubois and Claire Rousseau will forever remain an enigma in the annals of criminology, a reminder that even in the darkest cases, the truth can be as complex and multifaceted as the human heart itself. For the world, she will remain the mystery of the woman who murdered her husband. For Sophia, it will always be a testament to the transformative power of love and compassion. As she puts the book in her personal safe, next to the old USB, Sophia reflects on how a single case can change so many lives. He wonders where Amélie and Claire are now, what adventures they have had, what worlds they have discovered together. And although he knows he will never have all the answers, he feels at peace with the decision he made all those years ago. Leaving her office that night, Sophia looks up at the starry sky of Madrid and smiles. Somewhere in the world, he thinks, two women are looking at the same sky, finally free to love each other without fear. And maybe, just maybe, that's the true happy ending the story deserved all along. The case of the woman who murdered her husband will continue to be discussed, analyzed, and speculated on for generations to come. Law students will debate it in their ethics classes. Crime novel writers will draw inspiration from it for their plots, and perhaps one day, someone closer to the truth will write the full story. But for now, the mystery remains a testament to the complexity of love, justice, and redemption. And at the heart of it all, a detective who chose compassion over the law, allowing two tormented souls the chance to heal and love freely. As Sophia walks the streets of Madrid back home, she thinks about all the lives touched by this case, how a decision made in a moment of empathy can have repercussions that extend far beyond imagination. She realizes that, in a way, she too has been transformed by Amélie and Claire, just as much as they were transformed by her decision. And so, the case closes, not with the bang of a gavel in a courtroom, but with the soft rustle of cookbook pages, the clink of glasses on some distant beach, and the silent oath of an old detective. Seek the truth, not only in the evidence, but in the human heart. Amélie, Claire, and Pierre's story of love, betrayal, and redemption will live on, whispered in Parisian cafes, debated in police academies, and perhaps, one day, told in its entirety. But for now, it remains a reminder that justice, love, and truth are often found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the bravest act is to choose compassion over convention. And somewhere under a different but equally starry sky, two women toasted their freedom, to their love, and to the detective who had the courage to see beyond appearances and give them the opportunity to write their own story.